Hi Year 1, I'm so glad you could join me today for our English lesson. Before we start, make sure you've listened to our story, Jack and the Beanstalk, and make sure that you have a pencil and a piece of paper ready, because we're going to answer some questions about the story. So, our story this week was Jack and the Beanstalk, so we're learning, just like I said, to answer some questions about the story. So if you haven't already, please watch our YouTube channel, TLAP School. Please go onto our YouTube channel and watch our story video. And it's your choice, so you can either write down the answers and tick or fix them as you go along, or an adult can record you telling them the answers. Okay, so in the story, my first question is, why does Jack's mother suggest that he sells the cow? So read it one more time. Why does Jack's mother suggest that he sells the cow? Don't forget to pause the video now and write it down. Okay, so let's have a look back at our story. Let's read it. Jack and his mother were so poor, they never had enough to eat. One morning, they had nothing left at all. So if you put that they were so poor, they never had enough to eat, give yourself a big pat on the back. And if not, don't forget to fix it. Because they needed to sell the cow, didn't they, for some money, really. Okay, now this one is a bit of your ideas. So I want you to think, how would you feel if you had to sell your family pet? How would you feel? Or if you had a family pet, how would you feel if you had to give it away? Don't forget to explain why. So pause the video now, write down your answer. So let's have a look at some of my ideas. So I said upset because you wouldn't see them anymore, upset because you don't know what the person's like, you're perhaps giving your pet to, a bit worried, you might feel a bit frightened about what might happen or where they're going, might feel a bit angry because you didn't want to sell your family pet, might feel unhappy, or you might feel a bit confused. You might think, why couldn't we sell something else instead of our family pet? So your ideas, so make sure you give it a tick or fix. Okay, next question is, what happened when Jack returned home? Can you give two possible answers? You can use the pictures to help you for clues. What happened when Jack returned home? Write it down. Don't forget to pause the video. Okay, so you could have put Jack's mum shouted at him, didn't she? She said, "What have you done?" And she was really cross and gave him a telling off. Or you could have had that Jack's mother threw the beans out of the window. So there's two possible answers. So you could have had Jack got shouted at or told off, or that Jack's mum threw the magic beans out of the window. Okay, so I've put the story up here to help you, the page that I'm looking, the page that you need to look at for the answer. So the question is, what adjective does the author use to describe Jack's room that morning? What adjective does the author use to describe Jack's room that morning? Now remember, an adjective is a describing word. So have a read. Pause the video now and don't forget to answer your questions. Okay, hopefully you pause the video. Let's have a look together. So we've got poor Jack went to bed hungrier and gloomier than ever. What were they to do? In the morning, even his room seemed gloomy. So his room was gloomy because the giant beanstalk made his room look dark. And we know from when we did our vocabulary video last week that gloomy means dark. So give yourself a pat on the back if you put gloomy. Okay, so my next question is, who does Jack meet at the top of the beanstalk? Can you have a think? Who does Jack meet at the top of the beanstalk? Pause the video and write your answers down. Let's have a look together. So, and let's read the passage first and then we'll answer it. And there at the top, he found a giant castle with a giantess in front of it. Jack gulped, that his tummy rumbled. "Excuse me," he called out. "Please could you spare some breakfast?" So he met at the top of the castle a giantess. Well done. Fantastic. Give it a tick if you got it right or fix it. Okay, next question is, how is Jack feeling in this photo and why? So there's more than one answer to this question. So how is Jack feeling in this photo and why? Pause the video. Okay, let's have a look at some of the answers I chose. So I put happy because he normally doesn't have a lot to eat, because at the start of the story we know that the author, the person that wrote the story, told us that he was poor and he didn't have enough to eat. So he'd be really happy, wouldn't he? Because look at the size of that bread and that piece of cheese he's been given. I also put, you could have put full because he's eating so much. You look how small Jack is compared to that piece of bread. It's enormous. So next question is, where does the giantess hide Jack? Don't forget to pause the video and write your answers down. Where does the giantess hide Jack? Okay, hopefully you've paused your video. Let's have a look at the answer. Let's have a look. But then, stomp, stomp, stomp. Quickly, hide in here. The giantess stuffed Jack into a pot. There we go. So well done if you put pot, just as the giant strode into the kitchen. Okay. Next question is, what does Jack steal from the giant? So pause the video and answer the question. What does Jack steal from the giant? Let's have a look. Let's read our story. He grabbed the hen and fled for the door. So if you put the hen, you can tick it, or if you didn't, see if you can fix it. Okay, next question. How do you think the giant feels when Jack steals his precious hen? I'll read it one more time. How do you think the giant feels when Jack steals his precious hen? Make sure you give a reason. Pause the video and answer the question. Okay, so I've put some answers. Yours might be slightly different. So I've put furious because the hen makes the giant rich, and without it, he won't make any money. I've also put angry because it's his pet, and maybe he loves his pet. So any of those answers that are similar to mine, you can give a tick or you can fix it. Okay, my next question is, what does Jack's mother do to keep him safe? One more time. What does Jack's mother do to keep him safe? See if you can write it down and pause the video. So let's have a look. Let's read our passage. Jack and his mother chopped and chopped at the beanstalk. It creaked and it wobbled, and then it toppled over sideways. The giant was flung far over the hills, and they never saw him again. So she chopped and chopped with an axe. So you could have chopped the beanstalk down with an axe. Okay, next question. And our last one actually. What happens at the end of the story? What happens at the end of the story? So write it down and pause the video. Hopefully you paused it. Let's have a look. So let's read it. As for Jack and his mother, they lived happily ever after. Each morning the hen laid a golden egg, so they grew rich, and Jack never climbed another beanstalk. So there's a few different answers you could have here. You could have they lived happily ever after, and you could even add a little bit more information. So you could say they lived happily ever after because they grew rich from the hen that laid golden eggs. And you could also have that Jack never climbed another beanstalk again. So give yourself a tick or a fix. Right. Can't wait to see all of your hard work on Tapestry. Bye for now, year one.